So there's two skills that you need in high ticket sales to make a lot of money. Number one is your sales ability. Number two is your ability to find, interview for, and land the best quality opportunities in our space. You can be the best closer in the world. If you're selling on a shitty offer, you're gonna make shitty commissions. You can be an average closer selling on a great offer and you're gonna make great commissions and you're gonna be very successful, okay? The offer that you sell on could quite literally be the difference between your success and failure in our space. And over the last 3 years now, I've done, at this point, dozens of hiring rounds for various different offers. I have reviewed thousands of applications. I've done a bunch of interviews. And what I can tell you is that majority of people in our space, the large majority, have no idea what they're doing in the interview process. For someone like yourself, that's a massive advantage if you actually know what steps you can take, right? Regardless of your experience, if you can go through this process effectively, you can land your dream sales job and like literally change the trajectory of your life the same way I did mine and all these other people that you see online now doing, okay? This particular video is actually a recording of a training that I did for my private client group. We had a bunch of people who were applying for roles on this given week. So what I did was I went over the entire process. Number one, the mindset that you should have coming into a hiring round. Number two, how to properly evaluate offers and determine good versus bad roles. And then we go over every single stage of a hiring round and exactly what to do to stand out. That way, my private clients and now you can be successful in landing a role, okay? This is a bit of a longer video, so get yourself a pen and paper out, get yourself a snack or something, because what I can tell you is if you get through this entire thing and you actually act on the things that I talk about in this video, this is gonna put you in like the top 1 or 2% of any given hiring round, making it extremely more likely that you land your dream sales job, okay? So without further ado, let's jump in and I'll see you on the video.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I know we have some new people in here, Kiara, David, Jesse, you're not really new anymore, but you know, maybe you guys are maybe 2 weeks behind some of these guys, 2-3 weeks away. But even for you guys like applying for roles, you know, Dennis, it seems like you're set on your role. You know, regardless, I think it's really important to, you know, sales training is important. And that's obviously the majority of the training that we do here for anybody that's new. But I just wanted to do like a full call on job applications specifically. And how to go about it, because like the skill of sales, yeah, that's great, but from what I've seen, you know, like even what I can tell you, just being totally transparent, the skill set of being able to, you know, find and land higher leverage opportunities is probably the main reason why, like, I have a lot of closers that I started working with where in their first year they would be hitting $20,000, $30,000 months. And the reason why was because, you know, they were aggressive when it came to, you know, finding, sourcing, and landing, you know, really quality opportunities, right? For me, that was never, you know, really a skill set that I focused on specifically, probably because I was working within an agency. But it took me a couple of years longer than a lot of the guys that I trained, you know? So I want you guys to be like totally fucking equipped when it comes down to finding roles and just everything that goes into that process. That way you guys can crush it, because like I see this every day, like the space is moving very quickly. There's a massive opportunity right now. And I want you guys to take advantage. So yeah, I have a couple bullet points that I want to touch on in addition to what's in the course material. And then I'm definitely going to be going over, you know, and re-emphasizing, you know, a few components of what is in the course material, just to make sure that that's top of mind for everybody, especially going into, you know, some of you guys' interviews this week. And yeah, if you guys have questions along the way, jump in and we'll talk about it. Actually, if you have questions, like definitely do jump in. I want this to be like, you know, I want you guys to be pretty involved on this. So, couple things. How many, okay, before this week, right? Because all of last week and even the week before, I was telling you guys like, yo, you guys are ready, start applying for roles, start going hard. How many jobs did we apply for in, you know, not this week, but last week? Like anybody more than 0?
Yeah, well over 40.
Okay, Gabe, what about you?
I applied to like 3 or 4. There was a lot that I took a liking to that Braxton posted.
Okay, Ethan, what about you?
Mine's about the same, around 3 to 5.
Okay. So, right, and I can go and ask everybody, but I'm not going to. Something that I sense, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, the last 2 weeks that I was really getting on you guys to really start applying for roles, I sense that we weren't applying for as many roles as we probably could have been. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I think the reason why, right, like at the end of the day, the tough thing with applying for roles, especially in an industry like that you guys are all brand new to, right? The tough thing was with approaching a business owner that's making hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars a month, right, with tons of other experienced closers that they're talking to, right? The tough thing to take your first step into this game and like land your first role is kind of the confidence side of this, right? Where, I think if you were supremely confident in your sales ability, if you knew that you were the shit and like you were the top fucking closer that these people would ever speak to, like there would be no friction or no delay in terms of like your action or how many jobs you apply for. Would you guys agree? I think a lot of like these actions that we do as salespeople, for example, dials, right? Like the reason why people might not do a lot of dials when they first start out on an offer is it's not because they're lazy, right? Like it's really easy to say like, okay, this person's just not doing calls because he's lazy or she's lazy, right? It's usually not that. It's usually because the person just isn't super confident in their sales ability. They're like, oh, I'm going to pick up the phone. Somebody's not going to know who I am. I'm not going to know what to do, and there's like this friction that's in your mind that stops you from taking the necessary action that you need to take, that you need to take to get to where you want to be, right? Does that make sense? Does that like resonate with some of you guys? Because that's just from like, from my perspective, kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, for me personally, especially because I spoke with like real prospects in my last offer, then that I think relates over to anything really, in the sense that because it's conviction and like the confidence behind the words, if they're not there, then it's like you're in your head. It's like a mental game then, because like you're not in tune where you are mentally and like what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, right? Because at the end of the day, like the whole applying for a sales job is a sale within itself, right? And yeah, I mean, basically just the point I wanted to make here, right, is like if you go on a first date, for example, like you might think in your head like, okay, there's a certain kind of impression that I want to give off here. There's a certain kind of, person that I want to be on this first date. And then there's a certain way that I want to be perceived. But it's like, how well does that usually go? Like, does that ever go to plan? Like, at the end of the day, it's like you can want to be perceived in a certain way, and we can do all of this training and practice and like we can talk about kind of what to do and what to say when you're in an interview environment. But at the end of the day, it's like who you actually are shines through. Like you can't fake that, especially when you're talking to most likely probably a savage at sales, someone who's very good, who's worked his way up, who's now leading a sales team, who's interviewing you. Like you're talking to someone who's literally like a professional at reading and analyzing people, right? So it's like, I don't say that to like scare you, but I'm saying this to say that like, we're in a, sales is a merit-based game. There's no fucking degree, there's no piece of paper, even to a certain extent, like, I might vouch for some of you guys, and I will, but at the end of the day, like me vouching for you means nothing. It all really comes down to how the interview actually goes and what you're all about. So the point that I'm trying to get across, right, is like if for some reason like you don't feel totally confident going into your first interview round, number one, understand that that's like fine and natural, and everybody feels that, and like that's okay, and that's actually a sign that like, if you're uncomfortable, if you're stepping into a scenario where like you're fearful or you're anxious or whatever, like that's a leading indicator, right? Like that means that you're doing something right. Like you're pushing your limits, you're growing as a human being, and that's a feeling that you should continue to chase, right? So that's number one. And number two is that confidence comes from the preparation. right? Like we can, Ethan, you were messaging me earlier today about like how should you go into the interview? What should you be thinking about, focusing on? How should you prepare for it? It's like you spent the last, well, for you it's been a couple months, right? For you it's been a couple months preparing. Like all these role plays that you've done, all the training that you've done, all the feedback that you've implemented, like that's your preparation for the interview. So the point I'm trying to get across is like number one is like trust the work, right? Trust the preparation that you guys have done, because every single one of you except for David and Kiara have gone, or at least not yet, but you guys have gone really hard. You guys have locked in. You made a commitment to go very hard on role playing, practicing, developing your skills. And like, trust me when I say that, like, you're in the 1% of candidates in terms of training and the level of commitment to your craft, right? Now, when you show up to an interview, it's kind of like you said, Dennis. I'm glad you said that, right? Where it's, you've already done the work, I think I saw like a quote a while ago where I got Michael Jordan right here. I got Kobe Bryant over here off screen. One of the things that they asked Kobe was like, Kobe, you're so clutch. You always hit the game winners. Like, do you ever get nervous? Like, do you ever get nervous before a playoff game or, NBA finals or like a game-winning shot, right? And he's like, no. Because I know the entire summer I was 5 hours in the gym practicing this exact moment hundreds of times over and over. So like when I'm in the moment, I'm not nervous at all because I know I've done the work. And whichever way it goes, like I can live with the outcome because I know I did what I needed to do to put myself in a position to be successful, right? So that's number one when it comes to mindset. Does that make sense? Does that hit home for you guys? Cool. That's number one. Outside of that, let's get a little more tactical. Okay. The next thing I want you guys to note down is, and I've kind of touched on this, and I think there's an argument for either way. What do you guys think is more important when it comes to applying for roles here, right? Is it quality or is it quantity? Is it applying for the maximum amount of roles humanly possible? Or is it, spending the most amount of time like researching the company, thinking about, your interview, how you're going to respond, following up, etc. Like, what would you guys say? Drop it in the chat. Just curious, Kiara, what do you think? First day and the course, probably not too much stuff consumed.
I would say quantity.
Okay.
As much as possible.
Okay. Is there a reason why you say that?
Just because it gives you more of an advantage to, get an offer that you want.
Okay. Don't disagree. David, what do you think?
I would say quantity because it would be hard to tell the quality off the bat. So I'd probably go with quantity as well.
Okay, and when I say quality, because everyone in here is saying quantity. When I say quality, I mean like if you just go like maximum quantity, I just need to apply for the maximum amount of roles. I don't care about these roles individually. I just know that if I cast an insanely wide net, someone's gonna bite, right? That's where you get people where we went over last week, Loom videos with 100 fucking views on it that aren't tailored at all. Where the hiring manager looks at it, oh wow, cool, this person didn't have 2 minutes to film a video for my specific role, and this person wants a $15,000 a month opportunity, and he can't find 2 minutes to apply for my role? Fuck this guy, right? So if we're going maximum quantity, that's what you're saying, right? It's in terms of like your Loom video, your level of preparation for that, in terms of, doing research before the interview. Again, I don't think necessarily quantity is wrong, but does anybody want to flip their stance to quality?
I would flip mine.
Sorry?
I would flip mine.
You flip it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
anybody
it's
else?
the same argument valid for quality, that if you were to just put all your eggs in the same basket for one offer and you don't get it, then it's like, how well? Like that's again. So I would say like I would probably just go with both. Like that's an answer because like you yes you can do the quantity.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. What if there's a role that, like, is there an influencer that you follow that like you really resonate with, like someone that you followed maybe for a few years and like you really resonate with their message, what they say, what they do? Someone like that comes to mind?
Yeah.
Like, who would you say?
Hormozy, for example.
Okay.
I like what he says.
Okay. So, okay, cool. So if, let's say that they had a job opened up, which I believe they do actually, and I saw the job posting in the group, and like that was your dream role. What if you spent, you could spend, a couple weeks going wide, hitting up everybody, or you could spend, 1 to 2 weeks. You could say, okay, cool, Hormozy's hiring closers. Let me find who the sales manager is. Let me go on LinkedIn, find the VP of sales. Let me find the customer success manager. Let me go and message like 5 people who are involved in the hiring process of this specific role. Let me follow all of them, engage with their posts, DM them a couple times, make sure that I land an interview, right? You could do that as well. If there's a role that you guys really wanted, like, you could 100% do that. Message multiple people within the company, do a bunch of research prior to it, set up a Loom video, super custom, etc. Anyways, I agree. I mean, if it's going to be one or the other, I'd probably say quantity. But the approach that I want you guys to take when it comes to application isn't one or the other, but it's both, right? It's both. Okay, that is just immediately, and I've talked about this with every single person on this call. That instantly sets you apart from everybody, right? The far majority of people in our industry, they're used to like the whole like internet game. They haven't really been through like a competitive hiring round in their life before. This isn't even that competitive, right? But they will just do the minimum when it comes to effort within a hiring round, right? Like if you are that person who like just takes a little bit of time to shoot a couple extra messages, put in a little bit of intention, put in a little bit more thought into your Loom video, into your interview, into figuring out who's at the company, etc. Right? Like you put a little bit more intention than someone else, and your application questionnaire, right? Instantly it sets you apart, right? You hop on an interview and you say, hey, yeah, so I spent the last, actually I've been a big fan of this guy for the last 3 years. I spent the last 2 days, I went through, every step of the funnel. I went through, everything just to better understand what you guys do. And, it's awesome. And I'm excited to learn more. Like just saying that, like, hey, like I went through your sales funnel just to see what it would be like selling for you. Something as simple like that, instantly, like you could be terrible at sales. Instantly, they're like, oh, wow, this person like really cares. Those are the things that really shine through. So I want to challenge you guys to do both, right? It's not one or the other. It should be quantity and quality, right? Any given offer that you apply for, take the time to just do the basic things, and if you don't know exactly what you need to do to go above and beyond, I mean, we'll actually talk about that for the rest of this call, but you can always ask me, okay? There's a couple of things. Right now I'm just kind of talking about overall approach, and then we're going to get into step by step, okay? There's a couple, I just wrote down a few notes before this meeting. 4 main points that I just wanted to touch on here. So I mentioned the sales job application process is a demonstration of your skill set in sales, right? Or if I didn't say that, I said something close to that. But it is, right? The way that you operate through every single stage of applying for a high ticket sales job is a demonstration of your skill set, your character traits, and what you actually bring to the table for one of these roles. Can you guys give me a couple examples of that? What do you guys think would be examples of that? Aside from the obvious.
Examples? What do you mean by examples?
How do you demonstrate the skills required? The skills that a hiring manager would be looking for within a hiring round?
Intention.
What was that?
I said intention.
What is
Also, like following up.
Hang on, what does that mean? Like, go like really micro with it.
Intention, like they can tell that you actually put thought and effort into your application, and you weren't just sitting there jotting down a bunch of rehearsed notes, and like you were intentional with the way that you wrote down each question that we're asking in the application.
Okay, sure. Okay, what else?
I would say authenticity. From the last call where you were showing a lot of the guys, some of them sounded like robots reading off of a script. I say, like, show your personality and show that you're, how you're different and how you're going to be on a call with an actual prospect.
Okay, good. I like that. Okay, what else?
Good grammar in your application, just writing with good punctuation.
Yes.
That you're,
Yes, you'd be surprised. Like, sometimes you see someone, spell a couple of words wrong or like use crazy grammar, and you're like, okay, this person's retarded. Move on. Okay, what else?
I would say
go.
I would say bro.
Marty, go ahead.
All right. I would say not to kind of toot your own horn, as in like don't portray yourself as if you're like the shit. I would say in the application.
Yes, 100%. I saw there was I had a guy, I think we actually looked at his Loom video a while ago. I had a guy who like apparently sold for a bunch of massive names, and he just flexed that really, really hard. And he felt that gave him a lot of status, which it does, right? If you sell for some big names, that gives you some status for sure. But that was like his only leg that he could stand on. Like when, and it honestly showed a level of insecurity actually, because he was, so hardcore. I sold for this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I've never seen an application like that. But okay, sure. What else?
I would say how you present yourself.
What does that mean?
In terms of like when you show up, like how you're dressed, how you how you convey yourself or portray yourself, right? Your background, everything.
Yeah, like so simple, right? So simple. Yeah. But like again, this is why I keep telling you guys how easy it is to stand out, because you have people who hop on interviews like with their unmade bed behind them, or just like wearing like a tank top after they finished up at the gym, like crazy stuff, right? So like you got to understand, like the way that you look on Zoom, right? If I'm hiring you to my offer, right? The way that like you show up on your Loom video and to your interview, I'm like, okay, this is what my customers that I spend thousands of dollars a day to acquire, this is what they're going to see right now, right? And like if it's not like, solid, exceptional, then you're not getting hired. But everybody in here, you should be good background wise. There's a couple of you that had a problem with it, but we fixed it up, right? Good. There's like one really simple one, which is like one of my first like filter points, which is really important.
Communicating skill set.
What does that mean?
As in like showing, because like we're coming in brand new, so obviously we're the underdogs. So we have to communicate to them that like we're not coming in like as beginners, like we are experienced, we learn the skill set to sell, especially remote sales.
Okay. Yes, but not what I was getting at.
Is it showing up on time or early?
Well, okay. Showing up on time, like another bare minimum for sure. It's related to communication skills. I thought you were going to go a different direction with that, Marty, but it is communication skills specifically. What's the first touch point that you have with the hiring manager?
First impression?
No, like the very first contact made, right? You submit your information through like a type form or something, right? You're making a contact with a software. You're not making a human contact yet, right? You submit your application, they review it, then they hit you up, right? could be on, sometimes it's text, sometimes it's email, sometimes it's Instagram, right?
Is it how you articulate your words?
Well, what would you say is, okay, sure. So if we're talking about communication in email or text, what's like an important, what's the most important thing about communicating over email or text?
It's just following up, just replying back to them.
More important than that.
Yeah, speed. I think speed is
Okay, speed was number one. Speed was number one. So it's like, that's like one of my number one filters when I'm hiring sales reps. I don't care who they are, how experienced they are. Again, if I'm gonna hire this person on my offer and I send them an email during regular business hours and it takes them 3 hours to respond, like, that's a red flag, And again, listen, like, we're going to talk about different types of offers and different, like A, B, and C tier offers. But it's like, if you guys want to be making like 20 grand a month plus, like, you're going to be a part of an A plus team, right? Like, this is the standards are going to be high, and like one of those standards is going to be to, respond quickly, right? You have your phone on you. You're in sales. Like, what I think is, if I send an email to this candidate that I'm thinking about hiring and they take 3 hours to respond, what's going to happen when I'm giving them, leads all day to talk to? Like, this first sale that they have to make to land this job is one of the most important sales that they need to make. And it takes them 3 hours. How long is it going to take them to get back to a lead that needs to text them? Right? And like, this is a thing, right? So speed of response, right? You like, the whole thing of like not responding to a text for, a couple hours is like, does anybody ever, there's obviously some circumstances, right? But like, during regular business hours, when you're doing your thing, like, is there ever a text that you don't see within 5 minutes of it coming in? Like maybe there's some crazy circumstances, right? Or maybe like you're caught up in the middle of whatever, right? You're in the middle of a meeting or something. But it's like, you always see the text, immediately, right? Anyways, that's one, speed, right? What else? There's another really important one.
Is it being concise with your text?
Yeah. Being like, getting to the point efficiently, right? Communicating efficiently. Again, like these things, you might, I don't know. I feel like if I was on my first training call that I invested a bunch of money into, and I'm listening to my coach talk about, yeah, guys, we need to respond fast. We need to be brief with our text. I might be like, what the hell did I just get myself into? But the thing is like, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. These tiny little details add up to the whole, right? And especially on a first contact, a first communication with a hiring manager, if you are, if you delay your response, if there's a, what happens if you have to reschedule, right? Like, let's say someone has to reschedule and they're like, oh my gosh, my dog just died and I have to go to the vet and then I have to do this and I have to do that and oh my God, it's so crazy, I'm so sorry and blah, 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 blah. This whole paragraph about rescheduling, instantly I'm like, okay, this person cannot like communicate briefly. They can't communicate efficiently, versus using the minimum amount of words to get your point across, right? Like something super simple, right? Yes, professionalism you mentioned, follow up, 100%. Right? When are the moments when you would follow up within a hiring round?
If there's no response in 24 hours, I would say. Max 48.
To what specifically though? Response to what?
To the application. So if you have access to the hiring manager, and you already sent the application, then I would send them a DM or email to them, just asking like blah 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 whatever, just a follow up email.
100%. Great point that you brought that up. I wasn't even necessarily thinking of that moment specifically, but I can, like, there have been basically every time I've ever ran a hiring round, every single time. I go through all the applications, I choose who I want to move on to the interview stage. And then there's some people that I pass on, right? There's some people, okay, there's other people I like better than this guy. He's not in my top 10, right? I move on, and then I get a follow-up message from them, and it's like put together follow-up message. Maybe they send me a second follow-up message, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, this person's following up. This person cares about landing this role. I'll give them a shot. I'll put them on an interview, and like a moment like that, right? Just to be clear, just to kind of drill these tiny little details home. It's like a moment like that is literally the difference between you landing a job opportunity that like totally changes your life and allows you to make more money than you ever made before, doing something that's incredibly fulfilling, that allows you to go and build a multi-year career, versus maybe you don't land that job and then everything just goes a different direction, right? Tiny things like this will be the difference between those things. So I want you guys to, especially like representing me, and like using my name in the hiring process, like selfishly, I want you guys to, represent me and this program well. And I want you guys to represent, more importantly, yourselves well, right? With these little things, right? Very important, okay? Does all this stuff make sense? Any questions on any of this? Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, guys, make a commitment. Just be on point with all the little things, right? Be on point with the little things. That's like just a core value of mine that's taken me really far. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about good versus bad gigs, right? How should you evaluate roles? How should you evaluate different job opportunities, and what's better, what's worse, etc. Right? Gabriel, you're asking me. You're asking, hey, I have multiple interviews. Should I say that I'm interviewing with multiple people? I mean, what happens in the scenario? I mean, let me ask you this. What happens in the scenario, Gabriel, where you get 2 job offers from 2 different roles? How would you determine the better fit?
I would ask you. I have not a clue.
Okay, sure. and you guys can 100% do that. But like, what do you think? What are some of the first things that come to mind?
I guess that like values and ethics. That's a big thing for me.
Okay. Values and
like
ethics.
growth opportunity.
Okay. So you said 2 things there: values and ethics, and then growth opportunity. It's like the ability to kind of move up within a company. Okay. Anything else? I'm going to give you guys like the criteria that you want to use, but what else do you guys think? Let's go. Jump in. If you don't know, just guess.
For me, my first instinct is like feeling it out. Like, yeah, obviously, like there's for tangible type of evidence, I would check their offer, see which one serves me best. But it all starts really with who I feel best, like who I resonate with the most.
Nice. Good. I like that. Okay. What else? Let's rapid fire these.
Coming from like a corporate job, I would say I would find something like sick leave and things like that. Whoever has the best benefit for me.
Okay, nice. Flexibility with schedule, things like that. Okay, good. Like as opposed to if you had a role that was 12 hours a day, 7 days a week versus one that was a little bit more flexible, you take the more flexible one. Okay, good. What else?
An established offer. You don't want to be going into a startup.
Okay, cool.
Honestly, I'll probably just ask myself if I see myself working at this company forever, right? Because many people, they jump from offer to offer, right? So that's probably very important.
Okay, cool. Sure. And even that's kind of some of the criteria that we're going over here now, right? Because, having what Dennis said, right? Dennis, what, when you hop on an interview with the manager, right? The guy or girl running the sales team, you know, and like you have a great conversation and you're like, wow, like this person's awesome. Like I 100% see myself working with them, as opposed to this other offer that was also pretty solid, but I just didn't really click with the manager that well, right? What that is that's culture, right? Like you're gonna be talking to this manager all the time. Like you don't want to talk to some piece of shit, you know, who like drains your energy and who doesn't make you feel good about yourself, you know? Everything else being equal, it's like that's a really important point of an offer that you work with, right? Like Marty, what you said, longevity, right? I would put that into like, and guys, note this down, right? So number one, culture, right? Is, you know, and there's, well, okay. What else goes into culture? Just like real quick. There's like your manager, what else?
Fellow salespeople.
Yeah.
Yes, sales team. Is it like one salesperson on the team? Is it like literally just one closer that they're trying to fill? Or is it like multiple, right? That'd be pretty cool well, it's a lot more fun to be part of a team, I'll tell you that. Right? Training, how much training is there, you know? You know, is it like some offers do 0 sales training, right? Other offers meet every single day, if not multiple times a day, for like brief sales trainings. You know, it makes it a lot more fun. It's part of the culture, you know? Things like that, things to think about. Marty, what you said, longevity, right? So, yes, number one is like, yeah, ideally, you guys want to be on offers that are not, they didn't just start yesterday, right? Like you want to be on offers that have been successful for a long period of time, right? Something that's going to, you know, be sustainable, right? Another part of that is like, and nobody really mentioned this, but is, well, I mean, let's talk about just like earning opportunity, right? There's OTE, on track earnings. How do we calculate on track earnings? It's in the course.
I know there's a specific formula, but I definitely don't know. I know it's based off like average the total open slots, book calls or something like that.
No.
And then the average times fucking walk.
Open slots. Open slots don't have anything to do with it, but OTE. Anybody know?
Sebastian said KPI.
Right, so like what OTE is, right? You guys see all these roles in the group that say OTE $6,000 a month, OTE, you know, $10,000 a month, OTE $20,000 a month. So like something you need to be aware of is that, you know, people who are hiring for their offers, like they're technically marketing, right? Like they're marketing their job to potential prospects, right? So if I want to market my job really well, I might stretch that OTE a little bit higher than what it actually is, right? Some people, they might take their best closer's best month 2 years ago and say, yeah, that's the on-track earning potential, you know? So it's like, you guys also want to know, I mean, we mentioned a lot of important things, culture, you know, longevity, you know, flexibility, right? All really important things, but like, guys, like let's keep it a buck, right? Like number one is OTE, like how much cash are we going to make and how long is it going to take us to make it, you know? That's, I mean, is that not priority number one?
Yeah.
Right. So we need to get good at determining that, right? So I would take all these OTEs at face value. I would give them the benefit of the doubt on it, absolutely. But you should also know how to calculate OTE, because before you know it, like you might have a great offer. It seems like a great opportunity, but then OTE is misconstrued. You don't identify it, and then 3 months later, you're like, like that wasn't the real OTE. Like it was actually half of what was actually told. I was told it was going to be. Right. So.
Question.
Yep. What's up?
So I've seen somewhere where they said like don't accept an offer that makes less than 100K a month, roughly. Like if the business itself doesn't make that much, then how can they afford to kind of pay you this much? So.
Yeah, it's a good question. That's a good question, and we'll touch on that. I think in some scenarios you might accept that offer, not in all. But there are scenarios where you can do it, where it actually does make sense. But we'll touch on that here in a second. So basically, OTE is average calls, or call it average leads per closer, multiplied by average earnings per lead, average EPL, multiplied by commission, right? So if the average closer gets, I don't know, call it 50 leads a month, average EPL is $1,000 per lead, right? So it's like EPL is just total sales divided by total calls, right? What is the earnings per lead, right? 50 calls a month, $1,000 earnings per lead. That means you're making $50K a month in sales, multiplied by 10% commission. OTE is $5K a month, right? This is an average amongst the sales team, right? It can be higher, it could be lower. That's the average. That's like the textbook definition of OTE, right? So that's something where it's like, you just want to be aware of that, right? You just want to be aware of that. That way, in a bad scenario with a sketchy type of an offer, you're not taking advantage of. Or at least, everything is transparent and honest, right? You know what I mean? Like, I would way rather want like a super realistic, like a really realistic, like 6K a month OTE than like a, long shot 15K a month OTE, because a long shot 15K a month OTE, like, oh, if that's not the case, then, you just don't know. It's not transparent. It's hard to really commit to something like that, right? Anyways, yeah, culture, longevity of the business, OTE. I would look at niche as well. Let me take you guys through. I just typed up a quick little how I would define A, B, and C offers. Okay, so first things first is you guys need to. What's important is self-awareness too, right? In this interview round, I'm not like well, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, you just need to know yourself, know your strengths, know where you're at, know how good you actually are as you start applying for some of these roles. Okay, so that's how you want to think about A, B, and C tier offers. Okay, this is what I have. I'll probably add to this, but it's just one of the first things that comes to my mind, right? Really, for you guys should be, especially coming in with zero prior experience, for the most part, you'll be on these B offers. Some of you may be able to land A tier offers as your first role. Okay. Some of you might start out on a B tier offer. You might close there for, a few months. And then, immediately after that, you move on to an A tier offer, with much higher earning potential, right? Where we don't want to be is on C tier offers. All right. So this is why I say, like, self-awareness, right? Is like, you guys can jump into the group and look at, the massive offers, super high OTE, super high ticket price, and be like, oh, like, yeah, like, hell yeah, I want to go make, 20 grand a month as my first role. And I'm not going to accept anything less than that. Right. But I mean, maybe you are good enough for that role. Maybe you're not. Right. And that's something you guys individually can, reach out to me and ask me, and I'll give you my non-biased opinion of where I think the best role for you would be and what kinds of offers you would go to. But yeah, for the most part, this is where a lot of you will start. I might bump this up to like 12. Right? So a couple things in an A tier offer, right? Like ideal, like perfect dream scenario, right? 3 to $1 million a month revenue, 3 to 10 salespeople, right? If you see, for example, $200K a month with 20 salespeople, like that's not good, right? You can kind of figure out OTE pretty quickly like that also, right? Average closers making 10K a month in sales, making $1,000 a month, not great, right? Team culture, right? Dialed in leadership, daily training, etc. That's like, on the big offers, they have their sales side like absolutely dialed in, and like it's an awesome experience to be a part of an offer like this, right? High standards as well within this. reputable online presence and high ad spend, right? So big personal brands. So, okay, this is actually a really important point when you guys are looking at offers, right? And I'm teaching you kind of like some industry stuff and like kind of evaluating these businesses, right? Because that's important too, as a salesperson wanting to be successful and build a career in this industry. The offers that do the best right now, okay? Well, honestly, the only offers that do good right now, and when I say good, I mean like, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, consistently over long periods of time. Like that is impossible to do without like a significant organic presence, right? Without a significant organic brand, YouTube, Instagram, following, etc. Right? It is almost like back in 2020, I sold on a couple offers that scaled to $1 million a month, if not high six figures, completely off of paid advertising, right? With basically no organic social media presence, right? And like that worked, and you could scale that back in 2020, 21. Right now, like just with the way the industry works and ad costs, etc., it's like extremely difficult to just only spend money on ads. It's not impossible. Maybe in some niches and industries, it is. But for the most part, anything that's coaching, really any coaching offers specifically need to have organic presence plus some kind of paid, right? Does that make sense? So it's like, that's something that you want to look at, right? Is like you want to, as you're researching these offers, like ideally, you sell for like an Alex Hermosi type offer, right? Ideally you sell for like some massive influencer online, right? Because their organic presence makes the return on their ad spend and just their cost per lead significantly lower, meaning that they can maintain a higher scale over longer periods of time, right? In English, meaning they can spend way more money on leads, getting you way more and better quality leads for way longer because they have an organic presence. So it's like, that's, people, sales reps are always going to complain about leads, lead quality. I don't have enough leads, or the leads aren't good. How you determine that is with this. Do they have like a great social media presence? And are they spending a bunch of money on ads? Those are things that are like A+, like we want to see those things, right? And then obviously 8 to 20K a month OTE. And, ideally they've been doing this for a year plus. Right, is ideal. Right now, there are some organic brands that are just massive that will like spend no money on ads whatsoever and do like really big volume. So like there's 100% offers like that as well. But for the most part, it's going to be a combination of these two things. It doesn't mean that your offer needs to have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers at all. Actually, it doesn't mean that at all. There's a lot of personal brands out there that have maybe, 30, 40, 50K on Instagram, like relatively small personal brands that are really niche, right? That have massive trust with their audience, and they can sell like very expensive high ticket coaching on the back end. Like there's very niche personal brands that will do millions of dollars a month. So I'm not like, don't just look at the follower count, right? Like don't just disqualify somebody because they don't have millions of followers. But just look for reputable social media presence. Does that make sense? Cool. Any questions on this stuff, guys, so far? Cool. So guys, our goal, like this is like the holy grail of high ticket sales, right? Is being on an offer like this. This OTE goes way higher too, right? 8 to 20K a month is pretty reasonable, but like you get yourself on an offer like this, like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 months are possible, right? In addition to that, not only are really high commission months possible, but you can actually work your way up within the company, right? Like that's exactly what I did. I was a closer for a couple years. I was one of the top guys over that time. I eventually stepped up into a leadership role, right? Managing sales teams, taking a piece. in addition, I was managing and closing for a certain period of time, and then there was a time where I was just managing. And then there was a period of time where I took on a significant profit share within the business, right? After working with them for a few years, right? Where now I'm getting paid off of the profit of the business of a whole, right? A business that's generating hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, I take a piece of that, right? Those kinds of things, those kinds of opportunities can open up to you when, you establish yourself with a company like this, right? Now, are you guys going to land these offers like from day one? I mean, it's definitely possible, and I've seen it happen, right? But chances are you're going to start out on an offer like this, and this offer is either going to grow and scale into an offer like this, or you're going to start out on an offer like this. Maybe you're cool with making, $8,000 to $12,000 a month with a super flexible schedule with time and location freedom. Maybe you're cool with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's an awesome lifestyle, right? But if you want to do more than that, right, and like you want to push the 20K months and beyond, maybe you start out on a role like this. You close for a few months, you build up some experience, and then, really after probably like 2 to 6 months of strong performance on an offer like this, 2 to 6 months is of you being a top performer, top 3 on a sales team like this. Now you have the experience necessary to make landing one of these roles actually like very easy. Like this will be like the easiest job you land in your life after you've been a top producer on this role for, like I said, 2 to 6 months. Okay, does that make sense? Like that's why I say, right? Like that's kind of the path of how people, get to like first year in sales, no experience. How at the end of the 12-month anniversary, how are they making 30 grand a month, right? It's because number one, like they're on fucking point with all the little things. They role play like crazy. They obsess over over training for a short period of time, right? They nail their interview process. They hop on a solid role where they have an opportunity to continue developing their skills, establish themselves as a top producer, and then when the timing is right, if you want, you can make that next jump up like very easily, actually. Okay. Now these roles I want you guys to stay away from. These roles, I mean, this might be a good, the scenario. So like even Kiara, actually before I get into this, cause you did touch on like sub 100K months, right? It's actually tough. Do you guys know Ben Bader? Did you guys hear about that guy? Yeah, unfortunately he passed away recently. It was tragic. Dude was 25 years old. That was part of his program, was working with him one-on-one for a while. Passed away. It was really sad a couple weeks ago. Anyways, Ben Bader, solid guy, good stuff online. You guys should check him out. It's funny. Actually, just a funny story about this real quick. I had a closer who maybe like 3 years ago, who I fired from one of my sales teams because he wasn't performing, he wasn't doing very well. You go through the regular firing process. And I go to reach out to Ben, and I was going through his funnel, and I go to book a call. Before I book a call for anything, I like decide if I'm going to buy or not. I'm like the easiest person in the world to close. Like I just show up with my credit card ready, pay in full. Like I've like over the years, like I've made that a point of like, if I'm ever buying something, I'm going to be a great buyer. Like I'm always going to be very easy, decisive. Like I'm going to know exactly what I want, just because I want to attract that with my customers or leads that I speak to. Right? This is something I've always thought about. I'm always going to be a decisive, whatever. Anyways. And then I see when I'm booking the call, it's the same guy that I fired 2 years ago. Right? And then I go to the WhatsApp conversation, and the last message that I sent to him was, hey man, like, listen, like, that's it. Wishing you all the best, blah, blah, blah. I hope you continue pursuing this. It's just not the right fit, blah, blah, blah. Like a good, message, right? And then my next message is like, hey man, well, saw you're selling with Ben now. I'm going to be the easiest sale of your life. Are you free tomorrow? It was on a Sunday. We hopped on a call. It was like 9K, something like that, right? Anyways, that specific offer was doing about 150 grand a month with one closer. right? So there are offers like that as well, right? Where someone like Ben has like a very strong organic presence, very strong brand, actually doesn't run any ads. I was talking to him about that a couple weeks ago. Doesn't run any ads because he has, you know, qualified leads coming through. And yeah, the closer is doing about 130 to 150 grand a month every month, right? Not even taking that many sales calls either, right? So there's offers like that. You might find an offer like that that's at, you know, 50 to 100K a month, right? That's not a bad role, right? Making 5 to 10 grand a month, taking 3 to 5 calls a day. Maybe you find an influencer that like you build a great relationship with, right? It's a good opportunity, right? It's not terrible, right? But then there's offers like this, right? That are like sub 50K, but like really they're like, they did 50K like 1 month last year. Now they're like barely doing 15K a month, right? And I hear about this all the time. Whenever I run hiring rounds, it's like I hear salespeople talking about this. Yeah, my last offer, you know, it was at like, you know, 20 grand a month, and like the guy running the offer was saying all the time, I'm going to scale, I'm going to start spending some money on ads, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But then it just never grows, it doesn't get anywhere, and then the closer's left like, you know, struggling, right? This might be a good offer for if you're starting part-time. Like if you have like a tough schedule and like you can only do like a couple hours a day of calls, this might be a great offer for you, right? Or it's an entry-level role, there's leads coming in. You might be the only or the second salesperson on the offer. And you know, you make a few grand a month, right? Like an offer like this might be, you know, you're in the DMs responding to people, and then you book them onto your own calendar, something along those lines. But this is how I would categorize offers, okay? A, B, and C, okay? Any questions on this, guys, at all? Cool. We're already like an hour in, so I don't want to go too long here on the rest. How do we feel about applications? Let's get into the hiring process now. What do you guys think about when you're applying for a role? When you're filling in the questionnaire?
I just follow your criteria and then fill in the rest.
What's the criteria?
Well, for the written application is basically to, you basically want to label every like you going from one role to another as a transition that's positive and shows growth. You don't want to talk bad about the last role or the last position. And if you don't have any experience, you kind of want to say how like your past experiences in this job or not have built these traits that could be used for the offer.
Yes, huge point. Huge point. Yo, Dennis, you're going through all the material, bro. You got all this stuff down, man. Yeah, good work, bro. Good. I'm glad you picked up on that. Yeah, so like number one thing that we want to communicate throughout this entire hiring round is that we are, you know, as individuals in sales, right? As individuals in sales, like we're constantly self-improving, getting better, careers, skills, but also personally, fitness, mindset, everything, right? I think like what's attractive about sales is actually the fact that, you know, like you can level up through it, right? And it's really fulfilling. Like, yes, there's moments where it gets tough, but it's really fulfilling, like getting better every week, every month, and seeing like immediate jumps in results, you know? Like you can work really hard on a specific thing, train, role play, whatever, and then go from making, you know, $3,000 1 month to $7,000 the next. And then you can do it again and then go from 7 to 10, you know? So yeah, you want to communicate that you're on an upward spiral, right? So your last role is not, you don't want to talk shit about it,
You don't want to say, oh, my last job, I hated it, I didn't enjoy it, I didn't have any leads or whatever. You want to say, hey, like I learned a lot of skills at my last role. It was a great learning opportunity for me to develop these character traits. But now, it no longer aligns with my goals, right? Now I have bigger goals for myself and I'm looking for an opportunity that aligns with those goals. Fundamentally, like that core concept is something that we want to get across at every stage of this hiring round. Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah, guys, we have a full document that walks you through this. So use it for the questionnaire. Core philosophy, yeah, application, this is your first impression. Sound hungry, professional, upward spiral, be detailed. And then don't, no. So the point, I'm not going to go too deep on this because you guys can watch the core stuff. Yeah, if you have sales experience, blah, 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 what are you looking for in a role? This is important. What are you looking for in the role? You should be able to communicate some of these things. Last week, we looked at a couple examples of people. One person would say, what are your goals? I want to make, or just 10K, right? And then the next person says, my goals are, yeah, I want to earn multiple six figures a year and become the best version of myself. I want to be able to, move my mom out of this country and, provide in XYZ way, right? Like, which one are you going to hire? Just looking at the goals by itself. The guy who just says, my goal is 10K versus the person who like gets real about what their real goals are, what you're looking for in a role, right? Most people don't know what they're looking for in a role. Most people don't understand like, either one, they don't understand what things to look for in a role because they don't have access to resources like what you guys have, or they just don't care enough. They just don't care enough to like look for specific things within a role because they just want, hey, if I can make a lot of money, I don't care about anything else, right? So you want to be great at articulating what you're looking for in a role, right? Everything else here, you guys can go through on your own, okay? Loom videos. So main things with Loom videos, guys. I looked at actually, let me pull up the feedback that I gave to you guys because some of you guys sent in your Loom videos. And I want to touch on that. While I pull these up, just for the people who are new here, does someone want to touch on like just the main number one things on Loom videos that need to be good?
Yeah, obviously background. Another one is being really descriptive about your goals and bringing those up in the call because a lot of times entrepreneurs as a whole and obviously recruiters, they want to hire someone that, if I say like I want to move my mom out of, this country, they want to help you out by hiring you.
Okay, so yes, being articulate. Two is like your appearance and like visually, what does your setup look like, right? Like you don't need to have like some crazy setup behind you, right? But like basics, like Ethan, Gabriel, strong setups, Marty, strong setup. Others, honestly, pretty solid, right? Well, what you need is a light in front of you, right? Like light coming this way onto your face, right? And then just a blank background, bookshelf, plants, some basic decoration is nice. That's bonus points. But like bare minimum is good lighting and like blank background, right? If you can, add more to that, great. Goes a very long way. Yes, that's one. Being able to articulate certain things. Two, what's like the main filter? Like what's like the number one thing that hiring manager is looking or listening for? Not Dennis. Ethan, what do you think?
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was lagging out for a bit. What'd you say?
Number one thing, what's most important in a Loom video?
In a Loom video? Number one thing is well, again, like earlier that we touched on, like being able to convey, being able to convey your message across.
Okay, let me make it easier. What you say or how you say it? What's more important?
It's how you said it.
What do we think? David, what do you think? What you say or how you say it? Would you prefer going like really deep and extensively explaining your experience, past roles, skill sets that you have, what you're looking for in a role, articulating your goals? Or would you would you bias to keeping all of that stuff, pretty brief, but just being, great energy, enthusiastic, natural, and confident? What's more important?
I would say how you say it.
Why?
Yeah, as far as energetic, etc.
Right, but I'm saying, yes, I kind of led you to that answer. Or maybe
I thought it was an A or B question.
it is, and you're right. But I'm asking, why? Why is
I see.
how you say it important?
Because you can train a lot of stuff, but how somebody comes across, that's hard. That's actually hard to train, I feel like. Once they're to that interview process, they either have it or they don't, I feel like.
Yeah, great point. Because you'll see some people will have a really great script. They'll have a great script. You go to ChatGPT, hey, here's my experience. I'm making a Loom video. Here's the role I'm applying for. Give me a banger script, right? And then you just read it, right? But again, right, you're demonstrating. This is another example of you demonstrating how you're going to operate within the sales process, right? Does your manager give a fuck if you can read a script? Or does your manager and leadership care that you can articulate the framework in a way that's confident, energetic, enthusiastic, natural, right? Those are really the only things that matter, right? So yeah, number one thing, if nothing else, your Loom video should demonstrate that. Is that you're confident, you're natural, you're conversational, enthusiastic, great character traits, right? Any questions about Loom videos? I'll touch on the feedback that I gave you guys. So, Gabriel, what was the feedback that I gave you when you sent me your Loom video?
Well, for starters, you told me to kind of tone it down. There was just a few things that I said that were a little bit strange. At least from what you said. I said something I commented on my background inside of the video. And then I also commented on, I don't know, you told me to tone down the confidence. You told me to come in with a little bit more of a humble approach.
Yeah. Because you started out, it wasn't toned down the confidence necessarily, but I forget. You were coming out in a way that could potentially be perceived as cocky. I didn't perceive it that way. It just could potentially be perceived that way. It was why I'm the right fit for your sales team.
Hello guys, my name is Gabriel King. And why do I think that I'd be a good fit for this role? Well, I can tell you that I'm going to be working hard for this role. I sent you two. I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that. You were I'm going to be your best closer, or something like that.
Yeah. I was well, why do I think that I'd be a good fit for this role? I could say that I'm going to work harder than anybody else, and then I was which is absolutely true. And then I got into my experience and whatnot.
Yeah, honestly, small detail. I don't want you to pull that back too much, but just a little bit. Keep that in mind. So, if someone hops on a Loom video and is in this video, I'm going to explain why I'm the best closer that you've ever came across. I'm dude, come on, man. That would be the extreme, right? You definitely don't want to do that. That was pretty minor. Someone else I gave feedback to. Dennis, was it you or was it Ethan?
Well, for me, you gave me, you told me that everything was pretty good. Just include your personal goals and where you want to take things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you left that out. But I liked your Loom video. Your Loom video was solid. Cool. Anyways, yeah, those are the main things. Screening interview. So there's two stages to an interview. Okay. There's the screening interview. I'm going to explain. So by the way, this is the process for the the core hiring process for any high ticket sales round that you come across, right? So applications, Loom video, and then screening interview, and then skills assessment. Some people might do screening interview and skills assessment on the same interview. Sometimes this might be 2 interviews. Sometimes people do 2 screening interviews, right? But from what I've found, it's usually like pretty simple, right? You're not gonna go through some insane lengthy hiring round. It's usually a lot faster than that, right? Screening interview, basically the way that this should be done by someone who knows what they're doing within a hiring round, like a proper manager who knows how to run a hiring round. They have a list of character traits and values, right? Like they have a, and there's a good book, which I actually have in the book recommendations document in the course. It's called the Sales Accelerator Formula, I believe is what it's called. That's probably my favorite book on sales management. If you guys are interested in that, that's a really good like tactical book on sales management. And you know, basically any screening interview, the hiring manager is going to have a list of character traits and values of what their ideal hire looks like, right? My ideal hire is, you know, hardworking, they're accountable, they, you know, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And I can tell you guys what mine are, just real quick, just to give you an idea. Right? And then the screening interview is basically testing for those character traits, right? The hiring manager creates a profile of who's the ideal salesperson that I want to hire. Who's the person who's going to crush it for me, right? They define that. It's not random. It's not like, oh, this person seems good. They actually have a criteria of exactly what they're looking for, right? And then the screening interview is built out in a way where the questions that are asked and the different things that you talk about are specifically built out to test you for those character traits, right? And we actually, you know, and sometimes people take it up a notch on top of that. The agency I worked at previously, we brought on a woman for HR. Specifically, what she did was she would go through the recordings and she would score all of the candidates on every single character trait and value, right? Like on a 1 through 5, you know? And then like that's how we would determine who we would want to go ahead with, right? So like you might get questions and think, okay, cool, this is like a cool conversation or whatever, but it's like, no, like you're being evaluated for specific things, right? So my values here, let me give you, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 core ones that I would test for within personally like my screening interviews, right? These will be pretty similar across offers. They might have, you know, some similar ones, but they're also going to have some different ones, right? Number 1 is high say to do ratio, right? Like my number 1 value within a sales team that I manage is a high say to do ratio. When we say we're going to do things, like we almost 100% of the times we do them, right? Like very simple. You know, if I have if someone's like late for a meeting, I'm like, yo, you were late for the meeting. How can we make sure you're never late again? Okay, great. Can I count on you to, you know, block out your schedule, be on top of your time, and make sure you're never late again? These are important, right? Yes, you can count on me. Great. How many more times do you need to have a conversation like that before it's actually done, right? Even like for you guys, you know, like I would ask you, like how many times do you tell yourself, hey, like I'm gonna start taking my fitness seriously. Like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow at 6 a.m. and I'm gonna be in the gym right away. Like how many times do you say you're gonna do that, but then in the moment you're like, I don't want to do it. You know, like for me personally, I try to hold myself to the highest standard when it comes to say to do ratio. When I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. Like period. That's done. Right? Really important value to me. Right? 2 is ruthless with standards. Right? Kind of, you know, self-explanatory. Number 2 is 100% accountability over wins and losses. Right? So I will very frequently, right, I'll talk to reps and closers who have great experience on paper, but they're not accountable for their wins and losses, right? I say, hey, so, you know, you mentioned the last role, like, you know, lead quality kind of slowed down, right? Like, that sucks. What do you mean by lead quality slowing down? Like, what did that actually look like? Yeah, people came into the calls and they were less informed of our product. They didn't understand our product as well. Okay, cool, gotcha. And how long did that go on for? Yeah, that went on for like 6 months. Okay, cool. So like in that 6 months, what steps did you take? How did you adjust your sales process to better inform your prospects, you know, so that you can close more? And what result did that have? Right? So like I would ask a really specific question like that, where like I know immediately, did that person just say, okay, the leads weren't, you know, the leads are bad, there's nothing I can do about it, I'm just gonna wait till they get better? Or did they take a new action? Did they start sending out a YouTube video before the call? Did they add more education within the call? Did they try out a 2-call close? Like there's a million things that you could do to try to solve that problem. I just want to see that you tried it, right? So like that's a very specific thing that I look for. And that's probably one of my number one like questions that I'm going to ask within an interview process to determine whether or not I'm going to hire somebody. Okay. And I'll do it so smooth too. Like they won't even know that like I'm, you know, checking for this. I'll do it so smooth where like they'll completely butcher the response to it. And I'll be like, wow, this person is, you know, not accountable whatsoever. I'm like, wow, I'm not hiring this person. And they'll have no idea. I'll tell them if they ask me for feedback. I'll be direct just to be clear. But yeah, like a question like that, like you could totally miss it if you know, don't reflect on this and implement it. Next thing is no shame in underperforming, only shame in not knowing why. That's the same with, that's essentially accountability over wins and losses. And then the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, the little things, right? Like we talked about at the start of this training, like immediately, the little things matter. If you're late when it comes to responding to my email, well, the way that you go about responding to my email is the way that you're going to do bigger things, right? I don't need that. You know, if you miss on little things like you know, sales is a very repetitive game, right? You have to do the exact same things every day. Take the same calls, fill in the call notes every day. You submit your end of day report at the end of your day. It's a lot of like very simple little things, right? And if you're missing these little things, it adds up to the whole, right? So anyways, that's essentially what I personally test for within a screening interview, right? And then also too, like, are they cool? Like, do I like them? You know, like, are they cool to talk to? You know, I always like within a screening interview, like again, personally, right? I'm giving you guys my perspective and kind of what I've seen from the sales leaders and sales management that I know. I'm not necessarily speaking for everybody here, but what I like to do is like I like to just like talk about the person, right? I just try to like I'll try to kind of similar to how like in situational you'll ask like context-based questions out of complete curiosity that have nothing to do with the sale itself. I'll do the same thing within a hiring round where like someone will tell me like, yeah, like I was a doctor before, but now I'm getting into high ticket sales. I'll be like, whoa. You were a doctor before, like, so you went from 4 years school, being a doctor, to getting into high ticket sales? Like, what happened there? Okay, cool. And like, how was that with, you know, I would ask questions like, and I can imagine like, especially being a doctor and, you know, making that pivot, like there was probably a lot of people in your life, like friends and family who like weren't super supportive of that, right? Yeah, exactly. And then now I really find out like what that person is about. You know, like I try to have a deeper conversation if I can to really find out what somebody's made of, right? Like I like to look for just like steps in their life, you know, and like turning points for them and just have like a human conversation, you know, just to really try to get to know them in the shortest amount of time possible. That's that. Skills assessment. Dennis, how did your skills assessment go?
It went well. You know, it started out with an outbound dial where I did the whole triage. I was preparing over the weekend for it. And at the end in challenge, I did have to freestyle because it was a one-call close outbound. That's how it is on that funnel.
Yeah.
So I had to improvise on my feet, and then obviously objection handling as well. He hit me with a belief one. And there were some things I did wrong there. Like I didn't get clear on what the lack of belief was really about or where it originated. So he told me, and I wrote it down, and we implemented some of the stuff after the fact.
Okay, cool. So how much information did you get before you actually did the role play?
Information on
Like information on the product, what the customer did before they were a lead. How much information did you get on that?
I got a good amount.
Okay, cool.
Just yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like basically the way it usually goes is, cool. So here's like some basic information about the offer. Here's what the lead just did. Here's where we got the lead from. Now what you're going to do is you're going to call up the lead, and in this case, Dennis, you're going to call up the lead for the first time after this webinar, and you're going to attempt to close them on a XYZ program on the first call, right? How many did you just do? The one you said you struggled with, like challenge and kind of raising belief, right? Did you do more than one role play?
Like multiple of those?
Did you do just one role play, or did you do it a second time?
Well, I would stop. For the triage one, the outbound one, it was one, and then we kind of talked about things to fix. But it was on the second one where I would stumble and then pick myself up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you did too. Yeah, good. Good. Yeah. So basically, when it comes to the skills assessment, like we're going to be training, like for you guys, David and Kiara, like we're going to be training the full sales call, like objection handling and like everything. You're going to be role playing the call as a whole, right? Specifically so that you don't just land a role, you don't just land a good role, but you also like perform once you get on it. But in the skills assessment, it's usually very brief. It's like what, Dennis, 20 minutes, both role plays total?
Yeah, around there.
Maybe like 5 minutes per call, right? You usually what you'll see pretty common is you'll role play a triage call or an outbound dial, right? Where just a quick call. Hey David, what's going on? Misha here with XYZ Company. How you doing? Yeah, reason for the call. I saw that you picked up this product. Just wanted to give you a quick call and see if we can better support you. You got a few minutes? Great. Then you'll go through like a 5-minute call where you just ask some questions, gain some information. All the hiring manager is looking for is like how do you navigate through a sales conversation, right? They're looking at confidence, ability to think on your feet. Giles probably threw like some curveballs at you, right? Like Dennis, it seems like you made some mistakes. Like it didn't go perfect at all, but like they almost never do, just because it is like it's nothing about the offer or what you're selling. So it's like this skills assessment usually won't go perfect. Like you will actually make mistakes, right? That's something that will 100% happen, and that's totally fine, right? It's just how do you, again, right? Well, when I mentioned at the start of this call, it's like you could trip out about this skills assessment right before and like role play it last minute, or just trust, hey, I spent the last month like role playing scenarios very similar to this. Like when I'm in a scenario like this, I trust that I'm gonna, do the right thing. And if I make a mistake, I know that I can adjust, right? Again, something that I would do specifically, I would train, and this is something that all of you guys, just a character trait that I would encourage you guys to adopt, and I just want to reinforce. I really like this thing that Alex Hermosi says, which is, and I think I've mentioned it before, that the definition of intelligence is how much time passes between you learning something and you changing your behavior, right? Like how much time needs to pass between you like learning how to do something before you actually implement it. Like you want to compress that timeline to be nothing, right? Where like I can listen to a call of yours and say, hey, I want you to try like this tonality. At this section of the call, try to drop your tone a little bit and speak a little bit slower, right? How much time needs to pass before you actually permanently change that, right? That's, Hermosi calls that intelligence. I would call that probably coachability. I mean, it's probably the same thing. When I'm in a hiring round, yes, I'd like people to come through and they're already skilled and they already know how to close because I want them to perform. But I can live with somebody who's not like extremely skilled, but they're extremely coachable. I would actually, 10 times out of 10, I would take somebody who's very coachable than someone who's extremely skilled but not coachable at all, right? Because that kind of person you can develop, right? So again, right, like there's a criteria, and if I'm looking for somebody that's coachable, how would I test if somebody's coachable in one single meeting? Is you do a role play, you make a mistake, say, hey, you made this mistake. Well, actually, no. First, what you do is I would do a role play, we end the role play, and then I'd be like, cool, David, what did you think of the role play? What were your thoughts? And I just shut up. I don't say, hey, what do you think you did good? What do you think you did bad? I'll just be like, what did you think of the role play? I want to see how do you self-assess, right? Yeah, these are my thoughts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. What do you think you did good? Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree. I think you crushed it with this. I think you did a great job there. What do you think you could have improved on? Yeah, I was kind of shaky with this specific moment of the role play. Okay, cool. What do you think you would do differently? I would do this differently, right? And then after I see how you self-assess, then I would actually give you my feedback. I'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah, David. So like super common. We hear that all the time with this offer every single day. And we actually role play that every morning. But basically how we approach that specific thing is we say this and then we do that. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense. Cool. Do you have any questions about that? No, makes perfect sense. Okay, great. Let's role play that once again. And I want to see you implement that feedback. Right? And then we go through it again. And then like, you'd be surprised. Number one, a lot of people are just like, oh, that went. Sometimes people are like, oh, like that lead just sucked. Yeah, like that lead that you were role playing, they're referring to me, that lead that you were role playing, like he just wasn't interested and, he just had, no level of intention or whatever. Like blaming the freaking leads at a role play, like crazy. Wild. You know what I mean? David, I appreciate you for being the only one that laughed at that. But yeah, crazy, right? Or like sometimes people will say like, yeah, like I think I did great. I don't know anything that I did wrong, right? Stuff like that. And then again, I give you a piece of feedback and then we'll do the exact scenario again. And then some people just will not implement the feedback at all. It was just the exact same call as it was on the first one, It's like insane because I tell them, hey, when you hear this, just do this. Super simple. Then we do it again and then they don't do it. Okay, cool. This person's like not going to be a good fit, right? So that's what, again, this is how I personally run hiring rounds. But you're going to get something very similar to what I just described, right? Now, what about post-interview? Last thing, then we'll do, if you guys have any questions, we'll talk about it, and then we'll wrap this up. Post-interview. We didn't even talk about interview questions. Interview questions we'll save for another time, but there's a list of solid ones in the course videos. 100% should be asking some at the end. Hey, cool, that's it on my side. Do you have any questions about the offer or the role? Always have questions, right? Again, you can either have pre-prepared questions, and maybe you might have a couple that are good, or you can just like genuinely be trying to evaluate this particular offer to see, okay, is this offer the right fit for me? And then you might have a certain list of things that are important to you, leadership, culture, training, blah, blah, blah. And then now you might ask questions at the end of the call where it's like you're just genuinely interested and curious about those things, right? Those are going to be the better questions. Post-interview. Cool. Sometimes, was anybody on this, for any of the interviews that you guys have done, I'm just curious, did anybody ask you to, like, for a decision of if you wanted the role or not on the interview? No?
No.
Okay. I have. I've done that in the past with salespeople that I've worked with. I'd be like, hey, listen, I think we'd be a great fit. From everything that we went over here, it sounds like this could make sense. If we were to extend a job offer to you, would you take it? That's what I say, exactly.
just to see if it's a yes or no, basically. Like I'll ask for the sale, essentially. But anyways, in that moment, I mean, again, I think like going with your gut is a good instinct. If you feel that an offer is right, like take it. You know, I think again, there's two sides to this, right? Like you could say, hey, I have 6 interviews on the week, and I want to take all of my interviews before I commit to a role. You know, but if you have like an awesome interview with somebody and it's exactly what you're looking for based on your defined criteria that you've already set for yourself, I would encourage you guys to cancel the other interviews and take the opportunity. Because, you know, again, right, like you wait a few days, you might lose that shot, right? But then also on the other hand, like I don't think that you should prematurely commit to something that isn't ideal. I think, especially like with the amount of job postings and opportunity that you guys have to find like awesome roles, I wouldn't settle, right? So that's something to think about, right? Post interview, follow up, right? Keep in touch with people. Okay, just like instantly. And I think somewhere in the Google Docs, I like outlined every moment that you should be following up. Like every point that you should send a text to follow up. But you should 100% send a text at the end of your interview. Hey, it was great chatting. Looking forward to hearing back from you, right? Like the little things, guys, you know? Sometimes there have been times, like I said with the Loom videos, there have been times where I'm on my final list and I'm deciding, okay, I did all these interviews. I have these, you know, top 3 selected. I'll reach out to those 3. And then maybe there was like 1 or 2 that were maybes and I didn't reach out to them for the role. And then they just followed up with me about it. And then, you know, and I could just tell based on their intention and how bad they wanted it. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? Like this person's clearly following up. They clearly really want the role. Let's give them a shot. Let's put them on a 30-day trial and see how they do, you know? So it's like just following up is going to land you roles, you know, like the bare minimum, right? But anyways, yeah, that's basically everything when it comes to what would they say on that follow-up? Let me give you an example. Yeah, I actually have one example of a case exactly like what I just explained. Yeah. What do you guys think of all that though? Is that valuable? Anything kind of stand out to you guys? I know I was kind of yapping a lot on this call.
I will say one thing that I didn't do, which was mentioned on the course, was to, and even though Giles gave me the feedback anyways at the end of the day, I would have been like, well, what'd you think, Giles? What do you think I could have done differently?
Yeah.
That's something I didn't ask. I will say that that was something I regret. Now looking back at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even that's a good point too. Yeah, like you're talking about for the role play or for the interview as a whole?
For the role plays, honestly.
Okay.
That's where it comes into play.
Yeah, actually, that's actually a really good question. So like, let's say end of the interview. Okay, cool, great. Interview went well. We're gonna, review all the applications and then we'll get back to you. Right? What does that sound like? What objection does that sound like?
Turn down.
Think about it.
Yeah, they want to think about it. They want to compare and contrast a bunch of other people. Right? I honestly like go for it. See if you can handle that. How would you guys deal with that? If I'm like Gabriel, okay, cool, Gabriel, good chatting. Awesome. Think the interview went well. We just have a bunch of applicants here. I think everything went well on your end. We'll get back to you with our decision in the next week.
Awesome, Misha. Yeah, but I guess like over the next week, like what are some of the big things that you'll be considering?
Okay, I would not do that word for word. But I mean, probably, okay, great. Yeah, for sure, that's no problem. And, just out of curiosity, like how did I do on the interview as a whole?
right? You know, I'd love like some honest criticism, right? And then they'll get real. They'll tell you. I mean, maybe they'll get real. Whenever someone asks me that, I'm always like super real, probably more real than what they want me to be. But because like in my eyes, if I run an interview and like if I'm not going to hire somebody, at the least like I want to give them some good advice that they can take into their next interview. You know, that's how personally I look at it. But yeah, it's just okay, cool. Just out of curiosity, like what did you think? Yeah, you did good. Okay, cool. And like I guess like would there be? And you want to ask this question the right way. Okay, yeah, everything went good. This is what you could have improved on. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that feedback. That's actually a really good point. Okay, and I guess like outside of that, like because I know you know this is obviously a really awesome role and opportunity, and you guys are running a massive offer. I'm sure you have tons of applicants. But like from the interview, like I guess like what would be the reason why like you wouldn't go ahead with me? Right? And they'll get real. They'll get honest. Right? They might say, "Oh, no reason. Honestly, you crushed it, and chances are, I really see us hiring you going forward." Okay, cool, great. Or they might say, "Hey, like honestly, like here's some honest reason why we wouldn't hire you. Is because of maybe your age, your prior experience, maybe something else, which is great feedback, which you can take into your next role, right? So anyways, yeah, good question. Yeah, so Sebastian, let me tell you what he said. Yeah, so first of all, this guy, hey Misha, just wanted to say, appreciate your time today. It was great connecting with you and was a different but wicked interview process to go through. Thank you for the feedback. As you're already aware, I'm not just here to be an average closer. My goals are way too high for that. I appreciate there's a lot more guys with the experience, or with more experience than me. I know I'd be crushing it for the team because it's my desire to learn, improve, and strive to be the best day in, day out. Look forward to hearing back from you Monday. Have a great weekend. Right? So like prior to this, I wasn't even thinking of bringing this guy on. But I'm like, damn, like, okay, like this guy wants it, like he wants the opportunity. And two, like, he's, was like super appreciative of the feedback, like if you want someone who's like maybe of like higher status than you, like within a certain environment to like you more, like take their advice and like show a lot of appreciation for the advice that they give you. Like people, like I fucking love giving you guys advice and like training and talking about sales. Like if it wasn't fucking clear an hour and 45 minutes later, like I enjoy it. Anybody like who's, you could talk to like, I've had sales calls with people worth, there was one conversation which I'll never forget. I spoke to a guy who like 3 months prior to the sales call sold his company for like 120 million. Previous to that call, I thought that like rich people were assholes and they wouldn't respect me because I wasn't up like that, but like I had such a cool conversation with this guy. I had such a genuine conversation with this guy because I was like curious, I was listening, I appreciated the feedback he was giving me, etc. Right? So anyways, long paragraph here. If I'm not going to send it to you guys because I don't want you guys to copy and paste it. But good chatting, same to you. That was on August 16th. 2 days later, I didn't get back to him. He responded to a story of mine. I'm sure you got plenty more interviews ahead of making a decision. Looking forward to potentially crushing it. Speak soon. Flame emoji. Just like a quick little touch point follow up, responding to my story on Instagram, because he found me on IG. You know what I mean? Like little things like that, right? Go a really long way. So yeah, that was the DM. Guy got himself a role that otherwise he wouldn't have got.